Here's an atom. What's the atomic number, the mass number, and net charge of this atom? So atomic number is the number of protons. In this diagram, these little red circles are representing protons here in the nucleus. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means that my atomic number is 5. That was easy enough. Mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons, which are these things in blue. So the mass number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 protons plus neutrons. So mass number is 8. Sometimes people think you have to have the same number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus of an atom. Definitely not true. They can differ quite a bit. The net charge is how the protons and electrons balance each other out. So electrons are represented by these things here flying around the outside of the atom. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 electrons, E minus is a way that we can abbreviate electron. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 P plus protons. So the protons and electrons don't quite balance out. There is one more proton than electron. So that one extra proton is going to give me a net charge of 1 plus, because each proton has a positive charge. I have one extra proton. Net charge of 1 plus. This is kind of a basic problem. Now we'll move on to stuff that's a little trickier. So here we've got an atom with this atomic number, this mass number, and net charge. From this information, we need to figure out the protons, neutrons, and electrons that are in this atom. Protons, that is going to be easy because protons, number of protons, is the same thing as atomic number, so that's going to be 7. Now what about neutrons? Mass number is protons plus neutrons. So this 15 here is protons and neutrons together. I already know how many protons there are, so I can do protons plus neutrons, the mass number, minus the number of protons equals 8, the number of neutrons. Net charge here is plus 2. If I have a positive net charge with a certain number, that's telling me how many more protons I have than electrons. So in this case, net charge of plus 2, there are 2 more protons than electrons. Since I have 7 protons, that means that I have to have 5 electrons for me to get a 2 plus charge. Here's a table with various characteristics of a certain atom. We need to fill in the things that are empty. Okay, we don't know how many protons, we don't know how many neutrons. Where can we start? Okay, we know the electrons and we know the net charge. So based on the number of electrons and the net charge that this atom has, we can figure out how many protons there are. Okay, since this is a net charge of minus 3, that means that there are 3 more electrons than protons, because electrons have a negative charge. So I have 7 electrons. That means that I'm going to have, if I have 10 electrons, that means that I'm going to have 7 protons. 3 more electrons will give me minus 3. Okay, now I know that my atomic number is the same as my number of protons, so that is also going to be 7. The mass number here is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So to get just the number of neutrons, I take the mass number, protons plus neutrons, minus the number of protons, 7, and that is going to give me 9 neutrons. Sometimes these table problems can be the hardest, so we'll do one more example. Here we want to find the electrons, protons, and the atomic number. We know the neutrons, the mass number, and the net charge. Okay, let's start with protons. We know the mass number, protons plus neutrons, and we know the number of neutrons. So that means that we can take 25, which is protons plus neutrons, and subtract the number of neutrons. 25 minus 11 is going to give us 14, and that's the number of protons alone. Atomic number is just another word for the protons, so these both are going to be 14. Now that we know the number of protons in the nucleus, we can use the net charge to figure out the number of electrons. So it's a net charge of plus 1, which means that there should be 1 more proton, because I have a positive charge, 1 more proton than electron. So 14 protons. That means that total, I'm going to have 13 electrons. So now that you know how to solve problems like this, you're ready to go on to the videos about isotopes.